Thank you, Trusty Joanne, and good afternoon, everyone, to People Manager on Cam's Anticipate This segment, where we talk about upcoming events, products, or solutions that we know will excite you, our friends in the people management profession. This afternoon, as Trusted Joanne mentioned, our topic is technological innovations that support a post-pandemic workplace. I'm sure that we can all still remember the second quarter of 2020. That was the period when people managers around the world realized that the pandemic is going to stay for the long haul and that remote engagement and communication will both be critical factors for the survival of almost all organizations. And during that stretch, we've seen a lot of solutions aimed at making the work from home transition a bit easier, if not a bit enjoyable, not only for us, but also definitely for the rest of the workforce. And one of those tech solutions provider, perhaps the biggest, most well-known, and most reputable, not only for enterprise, but also for consumer solutions, given that I am actually using their products across multiple devices at home and at work right now, is our guest this afternoon. Joining us today here on Anticipate This is the Modern Work and Security Business Lead at Microsoft Philippines, Mr. Yvette Watson. Good afternoon, Yvette.
Good afternoon, Lawrence, and thank you so much to the People Management Association of the Philippines for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
Likewise, Yvette. So I think my first question would be to first ask you, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Lawrence. Thank you for asking. It's a good thing that we always start off meetings today with that, no, in this whole situation. And how are you, Lawrence?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very excited to hear more about Microsoft and how Microsoft really stood out during this stretch of the pandemic. So
Great.
it's actually good to also hear that you're doing well. So before we actually start diving into our topic, which is technological innovations that support the post-pandemic workplace, could you kindly give us or give our viewers a brief background of what Microsoft does as an organization?
Sure. Yes, so Microsoft is as a global software company. Some of you may be familiar with some of our products. You're using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Microsoft Office. You may be joining in right now using your laptops running Windows. But beyond that, no, we're a cloud company. We have a lot of solutions cutting across the cloud from business applications, cloud solutions, and productivity and collaboration as well.
Got it. And based on also my introduction earlier, we've seen how critical engagement and communication are to the success of organizations during this pandemic. Now, given also Microsoft's stature, how did Microsoft, as a leader in technology, adapted to these particular needs of organizations?
No, we couldn't agree more. Employee engagement, communication has always been fundamental, but in these days, absolutely critical, right? We invest to deliver an annual report called the Microsoft Work Trend Index, and the 2020 and 2021 reports are unlike any year prior. Our 2020 report showed that nearly 60% of people feel less connected to their team after shifting to remote work. Engagement is key, and it has to start at the top, right? Our Chief People Officer, Kathleen Hogan, lands this very strong point. At Microsoft, engaging employees in ongoing conversation is one of our keys to success. Two-way dialogue has been a big driver in Microsoft's cultural transformation. You may recall that we are a 46-year-old company. We went through some of the biggest global shifts and thankfully still afloat, right? At one point, I remember the market's message was clear. Microsoft was about to meet its doom, living on Windows and Office licensing in a fast-moving, internet-driven world. And the culture within Microsoft was pretty much tooth and nail. And to be able to steer this huge global shift, that shift to a new direction and change its whole culture was quite a feat. We were about 100,000 employees across the globe. And changing the culture was our CEO's top priority, incorporating a growth mindset and challenger mindset. And employee engagement and communication was key to make that happen. So definitely, we understand its importance for sure. And we built our solutions and tools with the holistic experience in mind, not just bits and pieces of the requirement, right? A holistic experience with our platform, Microsoft 365.
Got it. And it's a good thing that you mentioned about culture because I can still remember leading to the I'd say Q3, Q4. There were a lot of conversations in management that talks about culture. How can we retain culture, or how can we even improve culture? And of course, technology solutions would be one of the biggest things, buzzwords even during those particular moments. And
Exactly.
speaking again of tech solutions, there were a lot of tech solutions that went to market during the first few quarters of the pandemic, and I can still remember MS Teams being one of the biggest. Now, were there other factors that Microsoft realized organizations should also focus on to thrive during this period of wide scale remote working?
Well, yeah, Microsoft Teams was born just timely before the pandemic. In fact, this month we celebrated its fourth birthday, but we definitely hit a surge, right, of usage as we entered into this pandemic. We have 115 million daily active users and over 2.7 billion minute meetings delivered. Now, our work trend index report for 2021 shows us, seven key hybrid work trends in 2021 that we believe every business leader needs to know. But let me share maybe three of those trends. No, so first trend: leaders apparently are out of touch with employees and today need a wake up call. Our research suggests most business leaders are faring better than their employees. 61% of leaders are saying that they're thriving right now, 23 points higher than those without decision making authority. They also report stronger relationships with colleagues, that's 11 points higher, and relationships with leadership, 19 points higher, and a higher likelihood of taking all or more than their allotted vacation days. Business leaders surveyed were also more likely to be millennials or Gen X male information workers and farther along in their careers. In contrast, Gen Z, women, frontline workers, and those new to their careers reported struggling the most over the past year. The workers feel disconnected. 37% of the global workforce says, their companies are asking too much of them at such a difficult time. The second trend we're seeing is that high productivity is actually masking an exhausted workforce. Self assessed productivity has remained the same or higher for many employees over the past year, but at a human cost. Nearly one in five global survey respondents say that their employer doesn't care about their work life balance. 54% feel overworked, 39% feel exhausted, and the trillions of productivity signals from our solutions from Microsoft 365 quantify the precise digital exhaustion workers are actually feeling right now. So it's very important that we think about this. How are we thinking about employee burnout? And then the third trend we're seeing is that shrinking networks are endangering innovation. The pandemic driven isolation people feel in their personal lives is also happening at work. Anonymized collaboration trends between a lot of our solutions reveal a very clear trend. The shift to remote work shrunk our network significantly. At the onset of the pandemic, our analysis shows interactions with our close networks at work increased, while the interactions with our distant network actually diminished. This suggests that as we shifted into lockdown, we clung to our immediate teams for support and let our broader network fall to the wayside. Simply put, companies became more siloed and than they were pre-pandemic, diba? We know this is a problem. So how are you fostering communities now that in this hybrid workplace, and now that we're in GCQ, we're in a fully virtual environment is very, very important.
Thank you for sharing those insights, Yvette. And it really helps to see the numbers. And I'm inclined to say that I'm not surprised about the numbers, especially given the concerns that we've been hearing from the frontliners and even the middle managers. So it really helps to have that certain level of validation, and especially coming from Microsoft as a source. So it really is a reputable way of validating those concerns. Now, those three things that you mentioned earlier, given those identified challenges that you've mentioned, would you be able to share with us some of the other solutions in Microsoft's pipeline that plan to address those said challenges?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we shared a lot of these challenges now, but at the same time, leaders have an opportunity. right? Taken together, these trends show that we are no longer bound to traditional notions of space and time when it comes to how, when, and where we work. It's time to set aside our long held assumptions that dictate that people need to work in the same place at the same time to be productive and have impact. It's a big mental shift, one that will require leaders and organizations to fundamentally re examine and rewire their operating model. Shaking off the confines of the 20th century thinking will not come easily. We fully acknowledge that, right? But we've identified a few strategies for business leaders to begin to make that shift, right? And it starts with embracing extreme flexibility. Every organization will need a plan that puts people at the center and encompasses policy, physical space, and technology, right? And that's why it's important. And that's why I'm talking to this audience right now, because we fundamentally believe in your role in making this happen. It starts with answering the critical questions. How are people doing? And what do they need to deliver on their jobs? Who will be able to work remotely, who will need to come into the office, and for what amount of time, when people do focused work, and where will they do it, and what about collaborative work in a world where ongoing disruption is part of the new normal. Leaders need to be prepared to respond to these sudden changes, right? Then we need to invest, right? Invest in space and technology to bridge the physical and digital worlds. Most organizations will require a mix of collaboration, meeting, and then focus spaces, in addition to spaces that encourage informal social interactions, right? Gail Motry, Vice President of Workplace Innovation at Steelcase, says that companies' research shows that second only to proper safety measures, workers actually expect a post pandemic office to be a compelling and energetic space that creates a sense of community that we really don't get when we're working from home, diba? Many companies will also need space set aside still for focused work. Now, if workers can't get both of these things by commuting into the office, think about our traffic here in the Philippines, especially, diba? There's going to be a gravitational pull to want to work back at home, right? Because on the surface, it just seems easier. And then finally, rethink your employee experience to compete for the best and most diverse talent. More digital work and the stress of living through a pandemic has left many employees feeling overworked and disconnected. With some groups suffering more than others, it will be very important for you, the HR leaders, to consider how wellness programs and work policies affect each group uniquely. For instance, policies such as wellness days on top of vacation and sick time can normalize taking off. Other examples include investments in increased access to therapy, especially for essential workers who are on the front lines of this pandemic, as well as subsidized daycare for working parents and flexible schedules for all. And as we shift to hybrid, the need for an employee experience platform that brings these together, well being, knowledge, engagement, and learning together in a digital world is critical. Hence, when we thought about it, we realized that's where we needed to make an investment. And that this is why we built a new category of software altogether, which is our employee experience platform called Microsoft Viva.
That's great to hear. Employee experience platform. So I can really confirm that the things that you've mentioned, that there's a certain level of sense of community that we've taken away from our team members, especially from the frontliners, who they're really used to commuting, going to work, and having to talk to a lot of people, mingling and having interactions, and all of those gone suddenly. There are, of course, definitely benefits of working from home, but of course, also a lot of factors that makes work from home really a burden, especially to those that are currently in under GCQ. I think it's called NCR Plus right now. So, can you tell us more about this particular line of new product, especially the importance of Microsoft Viva from the perspective of Microsoft in really delivering this new employee experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lauren. So let me not talk through it and just show you instead, right?
Sure,
So
definitely.
perfect. So let me know if you see my screen.
I can.
Great, thanks. Yes, so first off, if you have yet to meet Microsoft Teams, for those in this call, right, Microsoft Teams is our hub for teamwork. It's where we do everything from chat, collaboration, co-authoring, sharing files, all the way to video conferencing and integrating our line of business apps as well. But beyond that, and this is where Microsoft Viva comes in, is where we actually want to bring together these aspects that I mentioned earlier, right, around building connections, learning, insights into the platform with Microsoft Viva. So the experience working with Microsoft Viva will be front and center within Microsoft Teams, right? So jumping into this demo, here I am in Connections, which is part of Microsoft Viva, which is a gateway to the modern employee experience for this. In this case, we're gonna call this company Relic Cloud. No, so connecting Relic Cloud employees to their company's culture and communications wherever they work. So it's a single space, right? From right inside Teams, whether you're on your desktop, you on the web, as well as on mobile, right? So it's great because then it's curated content as well. So there's a personalized feed of news and conversations. You can keep up with important announcements from from your company and your teams, and join in valuable conversations with people across the organization. Hence the name connection, right? The feed uses content and signals from the Microsoft Graph to make it personalized and relevant to you, right? So we are accustomed to setting up intranets that tend to be a bit static at times, right? And when you have a really large organization, sometimes some of those announcements may not be relevant to you. And the beauty of connections is that your organization can target communications and featured conversations to make sure that the right information gets to the right people wherever they work. In addition to the personalized feed of news and conversation, Connections gives you a very personalized dashboard, as you can see here. Your dashboard is a single destination for all the helpful company resources, across HR even, tools you need as an employee, such as health checks, time off requests, and other processes, right? And resources for well being as well as resources for learning. Now, Connections builds on a lot of our existing capabilities, right? It can integrate apps from across your digital workplace. You can brand the experience to your company's logo and name to foster a sense of shared identity. And you can tailor the experience for every role, from frontline workers to executives. So you can deliver a streamlined and personalized experience to communicate and engage people wherever they work with Connections, right? Now, Insights, which is another component of Microsoft Viva, provides privacy protected insights and actionable recommendations that help everyone in the work organization, be able to work smarter and achieve balance, right? And maybe just a short recap. Last month, right, in February 2021, we made an initial set of personal insights available in public preview to help existing users of Teams strengthen relationships and protect time for focused work. Now, with so many of us working remotely, we're missing the opportunities, the lunches, the hallway conversations. In the office present that the office presented to catch up and informally have a chat with colleagues. And with so many communications going virtual, distributed across emails, chats, shared files, it can be hard to keep track of important tasks as well, right, that require follow up. So this stay connected experience will intelligently surface prior communications. I am personally guilty on depending on this. So when I have a bunch of meetings set up for the day, at the start of the day, it'll actually send me a reminder of some of the things that I committed over email or via chat, that I'll do this, I'll do that. And I have a meeting with that person again today, and it gives me a very good reminder via email. The protect time experience to me is my personal favorite, right? It makes it easy to schedule focus time, because nowadays, especially that we're totally virtual, we have a tendency to fill up our calendar with meetings, right? No, I'm available from 2 to 3 and the next 3 to 4. And then you realize after every single meeting, you have tasks, right? You have to do's to deliver after those. And without focus time, when are you going to do it? After working hours? Definitely not the best way to do it, right? And so we have an ability here to help you automatically book time, right? So, and I personally am a big fan of this, because without this automatically booking focus time, it gets tricky to find time to actually deliver on work, right? Now, beginning April of this year, we're going to have more updates, right? We're going to bring more personal well being experiences to provide much needed structure for a remote work day. As an example, with the rise in remote work, many of us are missing the structure of commutes, right? So, to be able to set up that commute, virtual commute time, to be able to relax, to be able to prepare for a big presentation, uh, now you're going to have a tool that can helps you deliver on that as well, right? So let me just make sure this is progressing because I think, oh, here we go. Right. Sorry, I think, there you go. All right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, the joys of live sessions,
Definitely.
right? There you go. Now, I think what will be very exciting for the folks in this call is really for me insights, especially the manager insights, right? So for manager insights available, available within Microsoft Viva provides visibility into work patterns. Take note, this is privacy intact, which means managers won't be able to see very specific people, right? So privacy is very important to us. But it gives managers insights into work patterns that can lead to burnout and stress, such as working after working hours, meeting overload, or maybe too little focus time. For instance, in the screenshot you see here, you can see that well over half of this team consistently works after hours. Now, this is pretty high when you look at the average of the organization. Elevated levels of after hours work can erode well being, reduce productivity, and eventually lead to burnout and attrition. Diba? Now, we work with a lot of we work with research firms, so we make sure that we pull in only data driven best practices and we incorporate them within our products, right? So some of the tangible best practices are actually here, and you can easily launch flexible programs, right? Designed to help your teams collaborate more effectively as we put in those insights and those ideas right within the product. And for organization leaders, right, another portion here is the organizational insights. So you have personal insights, managerial insights, as well as organizational insights. And this gives you a whole view of your organization. For example, you see here, you can see that only 37% of teams across the business have strong cohesion, meaning that a lot of employees are at a risk of isolation. And then we put in best practices again. So we're no longer just thinking about delivering on the technical experience, but actually bringing you tangible advice, right? Provides visibility into the factors that impact several outcomes, employee engagement, agility, and the capacity to move quickly, right? So these, we, our intent is that with these insights, your organization will be able to work faster, and these insights are all available to you as an organization as well. Third thing is around knowledge, right? You remember the time you joined an organization and you hear all these buzzwords and you are super confused, right? It was easier when we were in the office because you just tag the person right next to you and say, hey, what does project SOAR mean, right? And then you can get insights and answers from there, but now you don't have that. So how do you ensure that knowledge and expertise is still surfaced to your employees in the context of where they are, right? And so what I want to show you here is a very good example of how we're incorporating Viva topics inside our solution. So take this note. I'm right within our team. I'm in the marketing channel. I can see here there was a weekly update, and somebody mentions Project SOAR. Now, I have no idea. I'm just new to the organization. I don't know what SOAR is. But what I can do is I can hover right on top of it. And thanks to Viva Topics, powered by AI, it actually pulls information from different sources across the organization, SharePoint portals, files that are publicly available within the organization, and automatically creates content and topic cards, if you will. So now Project SOAR, because of how often it's been used across the organization, has its own topic card. Now if I wanted to click on it, okay, now I know what SOAR means. Apparently it's a sustainable and operations and reliability project, right? And there are suggestions, who are the SMEs or the subject matter experts regarding this topic, and now I can reach out to the right people. Diba? This is when it was everything in the office was much easier because, well, we could reach out to people, maybe walk around in the office and just ask, what does project SOAR mean? But when they're incorporated within your product, within the solutions you're already working, then it becomes just so much easier, right? And then, of course, for administrators, you can see, you can manage the content, you can update these topics as they go. Finally, fourth component of Microsoft Viva is around learning. Learning and skilling is very, very important if we want to keep our organization agile to be able to respond to fast changes, right? And so what we did is we incorporated the ability to pull in learning sources right within Microsoft Teams as well. So for example, I go into this team here, I click add tab, and I want to say to this team, I want to put in some resources here for you for your training, right? So I click this, I select Viva Learning as a tab. I type in learning over here, and then I select courses related to, to the intent I want to drive in terms of learning, right? So I choose this specific sustainability and leadership training, hit save, and then it sets it up as a tab. Now notice, same place where we're having a conversation about SOAR, where files are also shared, where our notebook is also sitting. Can I also pull the learning content so that now from a team's perspective, I am not confused where is what, right? I can easily find content. Now I can just specifically say, for very specific courses, as you see here, right? I can decide if I wanted to assign them. If you have subscriptions as a company to the likes of LinkedIn Learning, EDX, Coursera, you can surface their content here as well, right? Um, and then set that up. And now from my perspective as a user, if you look at the left-hand rail here, here's my chat. Here are my team spaces. Here's my calendar and my files. And my learning resources are also accessible to me right within the same portal with Microsoft Teams. And I can see my learning. I can see what has been assigned to me. I can see content across Coursera, EDX, etc. And even content like, for example, from Microsoft as well, right? Now, in this case, notice a course has actually been assigned to me, as you can see here, assigned by Naomi. Now, what I can do is I can start on that content and take the course right within, again, Microsoft Teams, right? Finally, one thing I want to highlight here is right within the context of a conversation. Hey, I really recommend this training content from you from our HR, from our LMS solution. And what I can do is, if you notice, generally we're used to doing like insert GIFs or insert stickers or insert emojis in the context of our chat, right? Here I can say insert and insert a course from learning. Diba? So I can again search for that course, hit insert, and then send right within the chat. Diba? So those are just, that was a quick breeze through of some of the capabilities of Microsoft Viva. I hope it gave you a sense of what we have to offer, and yeah, definitely more to come.
Yeah, these are all very interesting because the two of the organizations that are working with are using MS Teams, and compared to, I'd say, the competition in terms of functionalities, there are already a lot of functionalities in MS Teams that the teams are able to integrate it with calendars, with Outlook, and be able to save files, have particular channels, and seeing these additional functionalities with MS Viva. I can say, as an HR leader myself, I can say that this is definitely one of the things that's worth anticipating in terms of tech solutions. So thank you so much, Yvette, for giving us an introduction and overview of MS Viva. Now, if we can take a step back, since we're talking about tech solutions, and we go into addressing culture first. So, of course, we know that people and technology should go hand in hand in terms of considerations. And you also know that since I think Trustee Joanne mentioned earlier that we're also live in Facebook and in YouTube. And we've got this particular question from YouTube. The question is, what in the Filipino culture and way of working needs to change to adapt faster to this online world of work from home or tech-driven work?
Hmm. I think one of the things that we need to revisit, no, is this Filipino mindset sometimes that the only way we're actually working is if we're working at the office, right? There's this notion sometimes that if you're not leaving home all dressed up, then there's this impression, are you really working, right? Sometimes I know a lot of people that are working from home that sometimes get judged by people by asking, is that really a job? I mean, is that even a full-time job, or is it more of a gig, right? So I think if there's one thing that has to change from a Filipino standpoint, it's really that we need to revisit the way we think about work and the reality nowadays that the future is hybrid work, right? And the ability to work from anywhere. And work is not about where you are, but work is about what you deliver for yourself, for the organization, and for your community in general, wherever you are.
Got it. So it's about having a shift in mindset and having a change in perspective, and that will really make at least the in terms of our culture more adaptable, I'd say, to technology and such advances. And of course, one of the leaders in these advances would be Microsoft. So thank you once again, Yvette, and to your team for spending your afternoon, I'd say around, and that's a good 30 minutes of your afternoon here with us on People Manager Online's Anticipate This segment. Now, before we part ways, how can our viewers reach out to you should they have questions regarding Microsoft's tech solutions?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you, Lawrence. If you see my screen, let me know if you see it. Three things here. First, feel free to drop me a note anytime. So I've pretty much flashed my email address here, vet.watson at microsoft.com. If you're interested in that report I mentioned earlier, where I was quoting, some of the trends, so you definitely download that. It's available online for free, aka.ms/WTI all caps dash 2021 for our 2021 version. And finally, if you saw the demo on Microsoft Viva and it got you excited and you're interested to know more and interested to see the updates around it, right? Feel free to subscribe to the updates through this link, aka.ms/viva-ph. And
Perfect.
thank you
Thank you once
so
again.
much.
Oh, yep. The pleasure is ours. Thank you so much once again, Yvette, and the rest of the team at Microsoft Philippines. So again, I would also like to thank our viewers, especially the one who asked the question, Mr. Nad Pating in YouTube. So please keep on asking questions. We still have one segment left. And that wraps up our segment this afternoon. This has been your segment host, Lawrence Ko. Join us again next month for more exciting previews that get us to the edge of our seats and say, anticipate this. Back to you, Trusted Joanne.